This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Hundreds still missing nearly a week after deadly flooding in Texas.
There are far more fatalities than there were in Hurricane Harvey.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A marathon cabinet meeting with President Trump at the White House.
We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin.
I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
The Supreme Court says President Donald Trump can downsize the federal workforce. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a mixed and flattish day. Investors are a little on edge over tariffs. I'm Jessica Ettinger. 10 people face federal charges after a shooting outside a Texas immigration detention center. I'm Julie Walker.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has cleared the way for the state to ban conversion therapy. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The death toll in the catastrophic flooding in the Texas Hill Country has climbed to well over 100, which follows the Texas governor's statement that as many as 160 people still remain unaccounted for. Search and recovery continues. Correspondent Clayton Neville is in Texas with the latest.
Complete devastation along the Guadalupe River and other parts of central Texas. That river rose 26 feet in 45 minutes in the early morning hours of July 4th.
To put this into perspective, just in the Kerr and Kendall counties alone, there are far more fatalities than there were in Hurricane Harvey. That's how catastrophic this is.
Governor Greg Abbott says the dead include dozens of children, many who were staying at Camp Mystic, an all-girls camp along the Guadalupe.
My information is those who are missing is down to now 5 campers and 1 counselor.
The state's been working the last few days to figure out exactly who's unaccounted for.
So one thing we've been reaching out to the public about is to get better information about those who were not registered at a camp, those who were not registered at a hotel, those who may have been down here who no one really had any accounting of.
According to the governor, 161 people still missing across the region.
If you have a friend, a family member, somebody that you think may be missing because of this storm, we need you to call the number that I'm about to give you. It is 830-258-1111.
Major General Thomas Seltzer leads the Texas Military Department, which is helping coordinate rescues.
We will continue using assets such as search crews on the ground, high-profile military vehicles, Black Hawk helicopters with rescue hoists, and heavy Chinook helicopters.
The damage assessment to agriculture won't come until the human rescue operations are finished, but already the recovery is expected to take years. The blame game has started, though, with some pointing to budget cuts under the Trump administration at the National Weather Service. To that, though, Governor Abbott made a football analogy.
The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions.
The concern for state leaders, though, is improving outdoor warning sirens along the river. That'll be taken up in a special legislative session later this month. Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows.
We will be ready, and we stand willing and able to listen to the community and experts and do all that we can to help address it from this perspective.
This as the recovery continues, and the heartache in Texas just begins. In Texas, I'm Clayton Neville.
The situation in Texas, tariff negotiations, and Russia-Ukraine, just some of the many topics discussed at the Marathon Tuesday cabinet meeting with President Trump at the White House. John Stolnis has that story from Washington.
With the reciprocal tariff deadline now extended to August 1st, President Trump said there would be no further extensions.
The big money will start coming in on August 1st. I think it was made clear today by the letters that were sent out yesterday and today.
At the beginning of his second term, the president said he wanted to reshape FEMA, but in the wake of the deadly Texas flooding over the weekend, he has declined to elaborate further, instead offering the floor to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to talk about the government's response.
And we're still there in presence, and FEMA's been deployed, and we're cutting through the paperwork of the old FEMA, streamlining it much like your vision. of how FEMA should operate, and it's been a much better response to help these families.
Trump announced during the meeting that he will head to Texas on Friday. The president was also asked about the Justice Department's confirmation there was no client list for the now deceased Jeffrey Epstein, confronting a reporter asking about it.
We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Trump announced the U.S. would once again begin delivering defensive weapons to Ukraine after a brief pause by the Pentagon.
Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
And the president had some harsh words for the Russian president.
We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now.
President Trump reiterated his call for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to step down.
I think he's terrible. I think, look, we're paying, I call him too late. T-O-O, too late, like Too Tall Jones for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Too late.
Trump displeased at Powell's reluctance to lower interest rates during Trump's second term. John Stolnis, Washington.
Downsizing the federal government. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton has, rather sparkling forecast.
The 4th of July was less than a week ago, and today will still feel hot as a firecracker for some. This is, of course, getting well into the hottest time of the year in some spots, but near and along the Gulf Coast, AccuWeather real field temperatures are expected to soar as high as 105 to 110 degrees from central Florida toward parts of southeast Texas, and as far inland as around Jackson, Mississippi, and Montgomery, Alabama, as actual temperatures topping out in the low to mid-90s for some will combine with oppressively humid air as dew points reach well into the mid-70s. The heat will also be the story for the western states, where areas away from the cooling effects of the coast are in for another round of temperatures as much as 5 to 15 degrees above historical averages, within a generally dry pattern as strong high pressure centered over the southwest forces the storm track mainly into Canada. These conditions will ensure that an ongoing drought continues, and parts of Arizona and New Mexico remain in an exceptional drought, the highest category, with no major relief expected through the coming days. Of course, some parts of the country do have wet weather in store today, and that may take the form of severe thunderstorms within 2 zones this afternoon and tonight. The westernmost zone will extend from northern Kansas north and west through eastern Wyoming into parts of Montana and through the Dakotas, with the eastern zone covering areas from northeastern Georgia to around the nation's capital. Both areas face strong winds and flooding downpours, with hail most likely in the plains. Otherwise, today brings at least spotty coverage of storms from the central and eastern Great Lakes region to southern Pennsylvania and much of New Jersey. In Salt Lake City, expect lots of sun today and a near-record high of 101. For Detroit, today brings limited sun with thunderstorms, some heavy, the high 82. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to proceed with downsizing the federal workforce. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on a ruling that could lead to mass firings.
The Supreme Court says President Donald Trump can downsize the federal workforce. That ruling comes despite warnings that critical government services will be lost and hundreds of thousands of federal employees will be out of jobs. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the only dissenting vote. She warned her colleagues of enormous real-world consequences. Some of the agencies affected by the order are the Departments of Agriculture, Energy, Labor, the Interior, State, Treasury, and Veteran Affairs. It also applies to the National Science Foundation, Small Business Association, Social Security Administration, and Environmental Protection Agency. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Despite Attorney General Pam Bondi's announcement that there is no Jeffrey Epstein client list in the government's possession, many lawmakers in Washington remain unconvinced. President Trump is backing up Bondi's announcement. In Washington, correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump is defending Attorney General Pam Bondi amid growing right-wing criticism of the Justice Department's abrupt refusal to release any more Jeffrey Epstein investigation files. During a cabinet meeting, a reporter tried to ask Bondi about yesterday's decision, and the president stepped in.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
That seemed to signal both support for Bondi and a rebuke of some of the president's base who have mocked Bondi and called for her to step down over what they see as her failed commitment to release incriminating files from the sex trafficking probe. Some conservatives hoped for proof of a government cover-up. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
When we return on America in the Morning, fast foods, the least healthy of them all, after these messages. With the midweek business report, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opening this morning after a flat day for stocks. For the most part, the Dow was down 160 points yesterday. Some investors are on edge over tariffs.
The tariff situation isn't great, and there's still a lot of ambiguity. We know that supply chains are going to be messed up from that, but we don't know how. We don't know how inflation is going to be impacted yet. So my apprehension on the bull market is that people are expecting more than they're going to get. And when people's expectations become misaligned with what really happens, they behave badly.
Gilman Hill's Jenny Harrington on CNBC. President Trump extended today's deadline for reciprocal tariffs on goods coming in from a number of countries to August 1st. And something new, the president wants tariffs on copper and copper miners. Shares were up as much as 5% yesterday. Freeport McMoran, Ivanhoe, and Sandfire, to name just a few.
He intends to go to 50%, which will be similar to steel and aluminum, which are both 50%, so copper will be 50%. And the idea is to bring copper home. We need that kind of production in America.
That's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on CNBC. President Trump also threatening to impose up to 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals made in other countries and coming into the U.S. Boeing delivered the most airplanes last month in about 18 months. It's been ramping up its 737 MAX output. CNBC's biggest sports empires list is out. At the top is KSE, which owns the Los Angeles Rams, the Denver Nuggets, and the Colorado Avalanche, many stadiums, arenas, a media company, and more.
These are the biggest names reshaping the business of sports. Taking the top spot in this inaugural first ever year is Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, worth $21.2 billion. Then there's Jerry Jones's Cowboys empire, which takes the second spot, valued at more than $15 billion. The Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment Group comes in third place at $14.6 billion. And then Fenway Sports Group and Madison Square Garden Sports round out the top five.
CNBC's Dominic Chu. Chick-fil-A making the list of the least healthy fast food chains in America, coming in at number 10. USA Today says World Atlas ranked the chains based on routinely serving meals with more calories in one sitting than people are supposed to have in a whole day, luring people in with bargains, and round-the-clock service. The top three least healthy chains, Wendy's, Sonic, and Taco Bell. On today's watch list, we get the Fed minutes from the last meeting, possible hints on the direction of interest rates coming. Samsung holds its Galaxy Unpacked event to show off new phones in New York.
Thank you, Jessica. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, banning conversion therapy. After these messages. New arrests have been made following a shooting at a Texas immigration detention center. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
10 people face federal charges of attempted murder after a shooting outside a Texas immigration detention center. Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson says the group, dressed in black military-style clothing, staged what she calls a planned ambush. A local police official was shot in the neck and is recovering. Larson says the group used fireworks to lure ICE personnel outside the center in Alvarado, where they opened fire. Weapons, body armor, and anti-ICE materials were found at the scene. Some suspects were arrested nearby. They were armed and wearing tactical gear. I'm Julie Walker.
We're continuing to follow the story from Philadelphia, now entering its 9th day of a massive municipal workers' strike. With no garbage pickup, trash has been seen piled more than 10 feet high. Oh, there's a big stink over the matter, which comes as the city of brotherly love is baking in hot weather. The strike has also forced many city-run swimming pools to close amid the heat wave. Some in Philadelphia were fed up enough to dump their trash in front of City Hall. Strike talks yesterday did not yield any agreements. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has ruled in a power dispute between the governor and state lawmakers over the practice of conversion therapy. Correspondent Marcela Sanchez explains.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has cleared the way for the state to ban conversion therapy. The court ruled a Republican-controlled legislative committee acted unconstitutionally when it rejected a state agency's rule that would prohibit this practice. But the ruling goes beyond the conversion therapy issue. It takes power away from the legislators to block rules and gives the governor more authority over how state laws are enacted. The legislator's attorney argued that decades of precedent, including a 1992 Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling, support the legislator's right to suspend state agency rules. Two conservative justices who oppose the ruling also say the decision shifts too much power to the executive branch. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Tragedy continues to unfold at an old girls' camp in the Texas Hill Country. I'm Clayton Neville.
The government and a judge sparring over the fate of an immigrant mistakenly deported. I'm Bob Brown.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is on a 2-day tour of South Carolina. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Regarding Ukraine, Trump and the Pentagon not in alignment.
AI deepfakes at the highest level of the federal government. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Real estate investors snapped up 27% of U.S. homes sold in the first quarter of 2025. I'm Jennifer King.
A celebrity lawyer weighs in on the upcoming sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning, pinpointing some areas of potential severe weather today. AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton has the forecast.
After impressive heat and humidity ahead of a cold front helped to fuel thunderstorms that turn severe at times as they push through the mid-Atlantic coast Tuesday afternoon and evening, today's risk for severe weather will shift a bit to the south and west as the front itself becomes more stationary and essentially washes out while still over the interior mid-Atlantic. This means that the highest chance for storms to turn severe this afternoon and evening will be from central Maryland and southeastern West Virginia southward through Virginia, all but coastal parts of the Carolinas and even into eastern Tennessee and northeastern Georgia. In these areas, storms may bring flooding downpours and strong winds of at least 55 to 65 miles per hour. The southern plains also had some active weather on Tuesday, with some wind and hail damage reported from northern Texas into central Oklahoma and south central Kansas. However, today's severe thunderstorm risk in the plains actually shifts farther to the north as a warm front brings more heat and moisture to the northern and central plains, leading to late day and evening storms that may bring hail and strong winds from central and eastern Montana through the Dakotas and northern Kansas. Speaking of heat, a couple of areas of rather hot conditions will remain for today. The largest such zone will be in the west, where most of the region away from the coast can expect high temperatures 5 to 15 degrees above the historical average and a generally dry day leading to worsening drought conditions. The second zone, where it's going to feel hot even for July, will be in the south, especially toward the Gulf Coast, where the combination of heat and humidity will take AccuWeather real field temperatures to 105 degrees or more from the Houston metro, central Mississippi and Alabama, much of Florida, even southern parts of South Carolina. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The news out of Texas seems to get worse by the day, and now it's believed that more than 160 people remain unaccounted for following the massive flooding as the confirmed death toll rises above 100. Several young ladies from an all-girls camp in the Texas Hill Country are still unaccounted for as an around-the-clock search continues. From Texas, Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Dozens of campers at Camp Mystic included in the death toll. The effort to find the girls still missing continues. Texas Department of Public Safety Director Freeman Martin.
We're not turning down one resource until we recover every last person on this list of 161. So we have FBI, DEA, HSI, the United States Border Patrol, the United States Coast Guard, everybody working together under a unified command, and we won't stop until we finish.
At least 27 campers and counselors killed. Governor Greg Abbott with an update on the number of missing children from Camp Mystic.
5 campers and 1 counselor missing. In addition to that, there is another child not associated with the camp who is missing.
The stories are tragic. Family members, best friends, at camp together for the 4th, swept away. A heartbreaking story emerging this week of 2 sisters, not in the camp, staying with their grandparents in a cabin nearby. Found holding hands when their bodies were recovered. Their father was injured when trying to kayak to find the girls. Similar stories across the Hill Country and impacting every corner of the state through friends and family. Texans are hurting.
Say what you will about Texas, but when the rivers rise, so do we. Not with blame, not with bitterness, but with boots on the ground, arms around strangers, and hearts wide open.
Governor Abbott urging the state to be resilient.
Tragedy has come. That part is done. What we do now, who we are now, that's what the story is still being written. Let it be one of grace, of grit, of fierce love in the face of grief. Let it be the kind of story that proves that the Hill Country may flood, but it does not fail.
The stories out of Camp Mystic and what happened there proving to be truly tragic. The inspector with the Texas Department of State Health Services confirms that on July 2nd, the camp showed a state-mandated plan for emergency shelter and for evacuation. It appears a plan was in place, but a river that rose 26 feet in 45 minutes proved to be catastrophic. In Texas, I'm Clayton Neville.
As intense downpours like the one that happened in Texas make headlines, correspondent Julie Walker reports extreme rain events are turning deadly in other parts of the nation.
Intense rain is falling more frequently in many areas of the U.S., though where it occurs and whether it causes catastrophic flooding is largely a matter of chance, according to experts like atmospheric scientist Ken Kunkel at North Carolina State University.
This month, it was the Texas Hill Country's turn to get hit. Last fall, where I live, it was in Western North Carolina, it was our turn when we got hit by Hurricane Helene. There were record amounts of rainfall earlier this year in Kentucky that caused record-breaking flooding.
More than 100 people died in Texas Hill Country after 12 inches of rain fell in a short period of time in the dawn hours of July 4th, driven by warm, moist air left over from Tropical Storm Barry and Hurricane Flossie that created conditions for repeated thunderstorms in the same location.
So any particular area, maybe they didn't get one of these, say, over the last 2 or 3 decades. That doesn't mean that they aren't vulnerable to these.
Last year, Hurricane Helene dumped more than 30 inches of rain in western North Carolina, killing more than 100 people. This week, flooding from the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal prompted dozens of water rescues in other parts of the state.
When we do these larger area analyses, we see this definite signal that the most extreme rainfall events have increased in the eastern U.S.
Going back through records dating to 1955, Kunkel found rain over the past 20 years has become more intense in the eastern 2/3 of the country, including the southern Great Plains where Texas is. Intensities in the west and southwest have remained the same or declined. I'm Julie Walker.
A judge has scheduled another hearing in deciding the fate of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who faces deportation if he's released from federal custody. Correspondent Bob Brown files this report.
Bring Kilmar home! Bring Kilmar home!
Supporters of Kilmar Abrego Garcia rallying after a judge in Maryland on Monday denied the Justice Department's motion to dismiss Garcia's lawsuit over his mistaken deportation to El Salvador, calling the government's arguments meritless. The judge hearing arguments over whether the Salvadoran native should be returned to Maryland ahead of his trial on federal human smuggling charges in Tennessee. WBZ TV in Baltimore covering the event.
Back in the U.S., but that journey's not complete, right? He's still separated from his family. He's still separated from his community, right? There's still more to be done to rectify the harm that's been done to his family, to make true the promises that were made about bringing him back home, truly.
He's currently being held in Tennessee with a scheduled release next week. However, the Trump administration could possibly deport him to a third world country if that happens. Garcia's attorney, Simon Sandoval Moschenberg.
It just goes to show that the government's been playing games with the judicial process throughout this entire experience.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member, and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country.
Judge setting another hearing for 1 p.m. Thursday when she'll decide on ordering his return to Maryland. I'm Bob Brown.
Newsom's presidential hopes. Then Rubio hoodwinked by AI. Those stories and sports when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Apparently, it's not too early to be thinking about 2028. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on California Governor Gavin Newsom's visit to an important presidential primary state.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is on a 2-day tour of South Carolina.
I'm proud to represent a state that's larger than 21 state populations combined. And I'm also mindful I represent a state that has more Trump supporters than the entire state of South Carolina.
Newsom met with voters in rural and Republican-leaning areas. The trip includes 8 stops at coffee shops, small businesses, and churches. Newsom's visit to this early voting state signals a potential interest in the 2028 presidential election. Focusing on South Carolina is a strategy to broaden his appeal beyond his liberal California image. He spoke to voters in the town of Mullins.
Imagine living in Southern California, in the most diverse county, LA County, in the most diverse state, California, in the world's most diverse democracy. We're at our best, we're living and advancing together across our differences. But now at our worst, people feel they're being hunted. American citizens feel like they're being hunted, racially profiled. Can't walk to police up the parks and playgrounds, send their kids to school or church.
South Carolina holds significant influences in Democratic primaries because of its diverse electorate. On Wednesday, he plans to visit Seneca, a conservative town in a county where Donald Trump won over 75% of voters in 2024.
It's the nationalization of this regression. On civil rights, voting rights, LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, access to contraceptive care. Something we have to continue to fight for. You can't take anything for granted now.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
There are reports that President Trump was not aware that the Pentagon had halted weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani has details.
3 people familiar with the matter say the president privately expressed frustration with the Pentagon for announcing the pause in some air defense missile, artillery, and other weapons deliveries. Yesterday, the president effectively reversed the move.
We wanted to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people.
With Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth alongside during a cabinet meeting, the president was asked who approved the pause.
I don't know. What did you tell me?
He's grown increasingly publicly critical of Putin, saying today the Russian leader throws a lot of BS at the U.S.
He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Concern is growing in the Middle East as Yemen's Houthi rebels have attacked another vessel in the vital shipping lanes just off their coast in the Red Sea. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels on a Liberian-flagged cargo ship in the Red Sea has killed 3 mariners and wounded at least 2 others, an EU naval force official says. The attack on the Greek-owned Eternity Sea follows the Houthis' claim that they attacked and sank another vehicle on Monday in the vital maritime trade route. The bulk carrier had been heading north toward the Suez Canal when it came under fire by men in small boats and by bomb-carrying drones. The twin assaults are the first Houthi attacks on shipping since November 2024, raising fears of a renewed campaign against shipping that could draw in the US and Western forces, particularly after President Donald Trump's administration targeted the rebels in a major airstrike campaign. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has had an AI deepfake made from his voice. Unapproved, of course, it's making calls and acting like him on the now infamous chat app Signal. Tech correspondent Chuck Palm with more on the story.
An unknown imposter has used an AI-generated deepfake voice to impersonate U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. This bad actor has contacted 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress. Using the now famous Signal app, the imposter left voicemails for at least 2 of the targets, sending a text inviting a third to chat. Using just 15 to 20 seconds of Secretary Rubio's voice, which was easy to pull given his frequent TV appearances, the imposter crafted a convincing fake aiming to manipulate officials into spilling sensitive info or granting account access. The Washington Post first broke the story, noting that the campaign initiated by the deepfake mimicked Rubio's voice and writing style with eerie precision. In May, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles was impersonated, prompting a national security wake-up call from the FBI about the possibility of more AI-driven scams. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning rolls on with midweek sports. Here's Robert Workman.
Baseball Tuesday, the Blue Jays beat the White Sox 6-1 in a rain-shortened 7-inning affair, but it still counts as Toronto's 10th straight victory. The league-leading Tigers shaded the Rays 4-2 for their 5th in a row. Brewers down the Dodgers 3-1. Rookie Jacob Mizorowski gave up a leadoff dinger to Shohei Ohtani, then struck out 12 batters over the next 6 innings. Padres shut out the Diamondbacks 1-0 behind the 3-hit pitching of Nick Pivetta and friends. Luis Arias homered in the 7th for the game's only run. Patrick Bailey hit an inside-the-park 3-run walk-off homer to lift the Giants over the Phillies 4-3. Royals sank the Pirates 4-3. Nick Lofton tied it with a 2-run shot in the 7th, then singled in the winner in the bottom of the 9th.
It's a relief, you know. It's what we do every single day. We're trying to win ball games, when it falls and we score that run, it's a relief knowing that, we worked really hard.
Mets rallied past the Orioles 7-6 in 10 innings. Guardians got a 10th inning grand slam from Angel Martinez as they kicked some Astros. A's bashed the Braves. Lawrence Butler homered twice. Nick Kurtz with a grandy. Rangers routed the Angels. Marlins romped over the Reds. That's 11 straight road wins for Miami. Yankees sank the Mariners. Aaron Judge hit his 34th homer. Cal Raleigh number 36 for Seattle to lead the majors. Red Sox rolled over the Rockies. Twins scored 6 in the 8th to clip the Cubs, and the Cardinals outlasted the Rain and the Nationals. At Wimbledon, 2-seed and 2-time defending champ Carlos Alcaraz dispatched Britain's Cam Norrie in straight sets. He'll play American 5-seed Taylor Fritz in the semifinals. Women's number 1, Arina Sabalenka, and U.S. 13-seed Amanda Anisimova advanced to the semis as well. The remaining quarterfinal matches are today at the All England Club. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, the housing market has hit the ceiling. Who's gobbling up the deals? After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Of course, with high interest rates and uncertainty, many home buyers are shying away from the market, which is allowing more small investors to step in. Details from correspondent Jennifer King.
Real estate investors snapped up 27% of U.S. homes sold in the first quarter of 2025, the largest share in 5 years. That's according to a new report from the realty data platform Batch Data. The company says the rise reflects a slowing home market, with traditional home buyers discouraged by elevated home prices and mortgage rates. As properties take longer to sell, investors with cash and financing advantages are stepping in. Roughly 20% of single-family homes in the U.S. are owned by investors, and 85% of those belong to mom-and-pop operations. There are also signs that large institutional investors are scaling back purchases, with many of the largest firms selling more homes than they buy, according to housing data firm Parcel Labs. I'm Jennifer King.
The cause of the death of Hollywood actor Michael Madsen has been revealed. NBC4 Los Angeles is reporting that Madsen died from heart failure. He was found unresponsive in his Malibu home last week. Madsen's film career included roles in Donnie Brasco, Thelma and Louise, Kill Bill, and Reservoir Dogs. Madsen was 67. The judge in the Sean Diddy Combs case has set October 3rd as sentencing day. Kevin Carr reports that a well-known lawyer explains what the disgraced music mogul is facing.
Last week, Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but the 55-year-old music icon is not out of the woods yet. He was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, and he remains in jail until he is sentenced this fall. Many legal experts have suggested the sentencing will be light due to Combs being a first-time offender and the acquittal of a larger crime. Some have even suggested that he might be given time served for the 10 months since his arrest. However, former O.J. Simpson lawyer Robert Shapiro, who spoke to Fox News Digital on Tuesday, offered a different perspective.
Having seen that this judge did not release him on bail, I think a message may be coming that you're going to be spending a lot more time, so no reason to let you come out and come back in.
Each conviction carries a maximum of 10 years, which could run consecutively. Shapiro notes both the length of time before the sentencing and the fact Judge Arun Subramanian referenced the 2016 video of Combs attacking his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura as a reason for denying bail before sentencing.
If the judge looks at that tape in his mind, I think there is a real chance that a substantial sentence will be forthcoming.
Combs will be sentenced on October 3rd. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.